Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme Uchiha the God Man, and today I want to talk about Gu Kim versus Pancheon, and why I think it's important. And also, I know some people are like, "Oh, we want Daniel to succeed, we want Daniel to shine." But listen, Daniel has had a lot of moments to shine throughout the story. He's been shining quite significantly in terms of just him unlocking a new ability and all of that. But simultaneously, we got to look at the zero generation properly, right? The zero generation were the pinnacle of the pinnacle of the pinnacle of the pinnacle. They're the legends, right, of the story, with Gap Young being the number one. And obviously Pancheon is supposed to be somewhere near that level. And even, Shingen and them were afraid to even confront him. They basically asked for permission if they could go and try to take over Korea first, type beat. That's how powerful Pancheon is. And he's just been cooling in the background just because he just wanted to kind of test the loyalty of his members and for some reason, right? And I'm sure we're gonna get some background stories on why all of those things may happen. But obviously here we got Gu Kim pulling up, and I'm just so excited because Gu deserves his redemption arc as well. And both things can happen. Daniel can shine, and Gu Kim can get his redemption arc. Right? We know who Jegyana must defeat. Right? And even though Panchon killed his master, we don't know if Jigana is on that level to fight a zero gen like this. You know what I'm saying? Now Gu has to shine because obviously the way PTJ handled the fight between Gun and Gu after years and years and years and years of hype, I think was a letdown. Not because Gu lost. I think most people would have guessed that Gu must lose or should win. It could be one or the other. I think both ways would have worked because I think obviously Gun was so beat up that if he had won, if Gu had won, he'd be like, okay, well, Gun was nerfed. And then Gu then basically had no reason to be losing like that, especially after we've seen some of his feats in the other PTJ verse, especially in Manager Kim, right? So it's just kind of interesting to see how that obviously ended up playing out. And I think the disappointment from that, I think maybe, and obviously the Garyang sword or whatever, the Gawang sword. Hey, my bad with this pronunciation, but the sword, right? The Horwang sword, sorry, the sword that he wants is in Incheon, right? And I think obviously Samuel So probably found out that it's there, and he's like, okay, I'm going to get my sword back. How he lost the sword or how the sword got lost, all of those things, we don't know. We don't really know much about Gu's backstory yet. There's a lot that we can get, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot that we will get. But I think it's time for Gu. We do know our allies need a way stronger alliance in order to defeat James Lee and Kite Kim in a satisfying manner. Daniel, I think Daniel doesn't need to defeat Panchan here. He needs to defeat the person that defeated Gapyong or the person that killed Gapyong, which is James Lee. His role is to defeat James Lee. Jake's role is to defeat Ki Tae Kim, and maybe this is Gu's role here to defeat Panchan, and maybe later to fight Gun once again. Maybe Goo gets his own webtoon after this. That would be amazing. I'd love a Goo webtoon, right? It'd be great to have an overpowered character have his own story, from the Lookism verse. But anyhow, obviously Goo shows up at the end, and Samuel So is like, well, if I'm this excited because I haven't fought in a long time, I wonder how Goo is, because remember Goo got severely injured after his fight with Gun, because he obviously injured himself with the suicide kind of attack or whatever. And I have to like block that out because goddamn YouTube is gonna be on my tail. Excuse me, otherwise. But yeah, man, I just think that Gu here. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to bring him to this arc unless he's going to fight Panchon. Like, it literally wouldn't make any other sense. So I'm assuming that's who he's going to be fighting. And I think once he fights him, I think he should win. But I think it should be he wins because everybody else does a lot of damage, because it is a zero generation. But then another way you can show that the new generation is surpassing the old generation, because again, Gu and all these guys aren't in their prime. They're only like 19, 20. I think they'll reach their primes maybe in their late 20s. So a lot of these guys are not in their prime yet, right? But then the old gen aren't in their prime either. But in order to showcase that the young people can surpass them, we need to see some of these zero gens defeated, like zero gen legends. You know what I'm saying? Not just the kings. We need the legends because the kings obviously will nowhere near the same level as the zero gen, and maybe they could have been on the path. And I think this is why James Lee and them went, taking them out, is because they had the potential to maybe get there, and it was like, okay, let's just cut that right now. Let's just cut that. Let's just stop them from ever reaching those levels, so that they won't be a problem later down the line. So that's why they went ahead and snuffed them, snuffed the flames, if you may. Now Gu Kim is supposed to be on a level or the rival to Gun, but this is kind of where you hear all these rivals to Gapyeon Kim, and well, they're really not rivals to Gapyeon Kim because he was traumatizing all these guys. You know what I'm saying? Now Pancheon is one of the seven. Is it seven? I think seven whatever's of China. So maybe that's what's next for the story. You know what I'm saying? Maybe China wants to take over Korea after this happens, and you know Daniel's legacy would be to defeat them. But we still have the whole two body thing happening that we still don't fully comprehend yet. So there's a lot of mysteries and things for Daniel to have a lot of moments to shine and be the bright star of the story. But Gu, maybe not so much because he's not a protagonist. He's not, like when was the last time we saw Zach Lee shine? When was the last time we saw a lot of our characters that we love shine? Right? It's been a while. So I think it's good to have Gu and his arc and his character get his mojo back, so that if later he is an ally or an opponent, he's useful, you know. And so that's why I think it's Goose time. I think it's Goose time. um he's involved in some of the other PTJ verses, and I think he's my favorite character. So obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased here, but I think even just looking at it narratively, if he's the one to defeat Panchon and then goes ahead and turns against the guys, that's a great other antagonist. And then you like, whoa, how the hell is Daniel and Co supposed to defeat not just JMC, not just Kite Kim, but now also Gu? But if he goes on Daniel's side, then you're like, okay, Daniel's side are still completely outmatched, but with Gu, they have some sliver of hope somewhere there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they'll get Gun back, and that would be the final war. We don't know. So it just allows for more options for the story to go forward, moving forward, if Gu does something great here. And it just raise excitement. You know what I'm saying? But I know some people just really want Dino to shine. They just want Dino to just be the one to defeat everybody. But this is not One Piece where Luffy goes and defeats every major villain in every major in every single arc ever. I will make a YouTube video about that soon. And I think that's good. If you think of Naruto, he only defeated like one member of the Akatsuki ever in the whole series, and that's great. You know what I'm saying? Because it allows other characters to shine. And I know people really love the protagonist to shine, but Daniel has been shining and will continue shining. But it also must look insurmountable for him to be able to win. That's what makes it exciting. If you feel like he can definitely win against Kite and James Lee, then there's no tension, right? Where's the tension? You know? So it has to look like this mountain is something Daniel can never climb. Because if Gu goes ahead and defeats Pancha, and then he says, I'm weaker than James Lee and Kite Kim, then you're like, holy shit, Daniel just got mollywopped by a guy that got defeated, because it's going to be a high extreme div fight between Panchon and Gu, of course. And then, this guy that's stronger than me got defeated by another guy who's weaker than the guys that I have to fight. It creates tension. And I don't know if a lot of people just, many people have been reading stuff like Solo Leveling too much, where the protagonist just solos everybody, and that's what they love. But if you want some nuance, I think it's important to have other characters shine, and for the protagonist to sometimes take a back seat. He's involved in the story. That's all that matters. And it's his plan. It's a lot of his stuff that's making things come to fruition. So, and there has to be luck involved. Sam also obviously called, Gu once he found out that the Haryang sword was there, the Hwang sword was there, whatever. And you see the phone call, and he was like, "Oh, Incheon, damn, he didn't even want to go to Incheon, but he wants his sword back, so he pulling up." So, but I'm excited, and Some people might not be excited, but I think I'm excited. I think you can have two viewpoints when reading a story. You can just be like, oh, or you can just, hop on the roller coaster and see what happens. And I'm excited to be on the roller coaster. And that's it, really. But I think it's Goose time, and I hope Goose shines. You know what I'm saying? It's your boys, the Prima G, the God makes you like, I'm out.